G'day, my name is Gerry Lillicrap from Tailored Accounts in Canberra, Australia. Welcome to the Personal Business Information System application. Before I continue, I need to draw your attention to the terms of use of this application. In particular, point 4, Tailored Accounts makes no representations about the suitability of the templates for any purpose. We are not providing any financial advice. This tool is for general purposes only, and if you require financial advice, you need to seek it from your financial advisor. This is an overview of the personal biz. We start with the menu, and it's an easy access point for the rest of the application. The first thing that you need to do is enter some personal information, and I'll run you through all of this in detail. Next, you need to review the assumptions, and these cover things like the interest rate you're receiving from banks on deposits, rate of inflation, and so on. There are some references provided where you can go to the source to review the latest information available for Australia, but feel free to enter your own assumptions in that. The next part is the financial data entry. Initially, you need to include your income and your expenses, and there's provision to include also your partner's income and expenses. You then move on to assets and liabilities. So these are things such as the cash that you have in your bank account, value of your car, home, and then any associated liabilities such as a mortgage on your home or car loan or other loans. We then move on to reporting, and there are 4 tabs associated with reporting. Firstly, there's a dashboard, and this just provides a breakup of the expenses and income in terms of being associated with personal exertion income, so wages and salaries, investment income, or business income. It also gives you a quick snapshot of what your overall financial position looks like at retirement and then after retirement. Then move on to the monthly cash flow and the retirement planning, which provides a more detailed time-based view of how you're progressing with your financial plans. And finally, the outlook, which gives you the financial position at retirement age and as at the end of your life expectancy, as you've entered into the assumptions. So we'll just quickly run through what it looks like, and then I will take you through one with some data in it. So this allows you to quickly go to the different tabs. You don't have to follow it in order, but it is on your first walkthrough, it is recommended that you go through in order. First screen, the personal information. You'll note that there's a little message down here to say that there are 4 items that haven't been filled in. Once you fill those in, the background color changes, indicating that you've successfully entered the data. This is the assumption tab. As you can see, there's some values already there. Bank interest rate 2%. We'd all love to get that at the moment. And then inflation and so on, and some references. And if you click on those, that it will take you to the relevant web page. And obviously, if you're from overseas, you'll need to look at what's relevant in your particular circumstances. Manual income expense. This data is dragged in from the personal information data entry. As you can see, there are some blue areas, and this is where you can enter data. Just a couple of pointers around the structure of this particular page. So this converts whatever you put in over here into an annual amount in this case, but you can change that. You could change that to monthly and just give you a quick overview of what your monthly expenses are looking like. In terms of entering the data, you have choices in terms of whether you put in weekly or fortnightly amounts. So if you know your fortnightly salary, you can put that in. If you know your annual salary, then you just change that to annually, and then you can put the annual amount in. Put your partner's salary in, any government allowances and pensions. So this is the before retirement side. The in retirement works exactly the same way. Obviously, the values will change. So you may well not have anything for government pensions allowances before retirement, and then afterwards you may well do, but you may not have any salary. There are a number of summary rows that sum up the values of the data here. So these are protected. Please don't change those because they are integral to the structure of the application. The list is reasonably detailed. Don't get caught up on the names. Please don't change the names. Again, that has consequences for further on in the application. But feel free to either just use one or only a couple as you desire. So you've got transportation, medical and health, utilities, housing, daily living, pets, children, education, giving, miscellaneous, discretionary expenses, and then you come down to the investment area. So if you have investment properties, again, you can put in the relevant data. The application makes provision for 3 investment properties. If you have more, I suggest you just amalgamate the data for them. And then if you have financial products, so stocks and shares, you can put in the dividend income, franking credits here in Australia, brokerage fees and so on for the expenses. And then other business income. So if you are running your own business, you can put that in, associated fees, and then what the relevant tax expenses are for that particular set of income and expenses. The next part of the data entry is where you put your assets and liabilities. So your cash at bank, your stocks and shares, superannuation, value of your home, cars, and so on. Any associated liabilities, if you have loans, and the annual interest rate for the loan, and the length of the loan in terms of how many years it has to go before it's paid out. So that's the basic data entry side of the package. So what we'll do now is move on to one where I've actually included some data. So we'll just go back to the menu, and so if you click on the tab, it takes you through to here. There are generally some hints in terms of putting the data in. It's reasonably flexible. It will cope with putting in data in terms of a day-day / month / year type format. If it doesn't like it, it will let you know. So today's date, the your date of birth, your desired retirement age, and your life expectancy age. And this you can get from various sources on the web. The Bureau of Statistics has some life expectancy tables, as do many of the banks and insurance companies and the Australian Taxation Office. If you have a partner and you want to include their data, then you can put this in. The package does take account of that, but it primarily operates on what you put in for yourself. So we go to the next, the assumptions. So I'm going to change that because 0.2% is a more realistic return on your savings account at the moment here in Australia. As you can see, you can just click on these and it will take you to the relevant page. We can then move down, click on next, takes us through to here. As you can see, it's pulled through some of the data from personal information. I have already put some data in, and it's purely for illustrative purposes. It doesn't reflect anyone in particular or whether that's a realistic set of data. So you can see it's summarised the total income, total expenses, and your net amount. So if I was to change this to monthly, you can see that that's now updated that over here. And if I was to change this to quarterly, as you can see, it's now reflecting a quarterly view of the data. So let's just put it back to annually. The system's quite happy to cope with whatever state you leave it in. So this is before retirement and after retirement. So as you can see, where we've put data, even if it's a 0, it removes the colour coding to say that that's available for data entry. So you can see we haven't put an extensive list of data in, but just so that we can see it as it flows through the system. So you can see that it's summarising investment income through there. So we go down to the bottom and we go next. And this is the dashboard. So this gives us a quick overview of the expenses before and after retirement in terms of just how they're distributed amongst the different categories. And then in terms of the composition of where you're deriving your income from, so whether it's personal exertion, your property investments or financial products or other. As you can see, for a lot of us, it will be personal exertion with a little bit of property or stocks and shares. And then over here, it just gives you this same view, but based on the in-retirement data. We can always go back to the main menu if we want to. And we can go back here and we'll go on to next. And so this gives us the manual asset liability side of the data. So we've got some cash, we've got some shares, superannuation, a home, car, and some associated liabilities. We can then move on to either the monthly cash flows, and this always starts in July of the relevant year, and it flows through month by month. And you can go a long way out. This particular area is good for just getting an idea of how you're progressing month by month over the short term. If you really want to look at the longer term situation, better off going to the retirement planning. And here it's based on just an annual view of what your assets and liabilities are looking like as you progress through to retirement at age 85. The value of this application is totally reliant on the data that you put in. As you can see, it's probably unrealistic for most of us to think that when we're 85, our net worth has increased to $9 million, starting off at 985,000. So, as I said, this is purely data for illustrative purposes. It doesn't reflect any one situation or necessarily a real situation. So that's the quick overview. Final result gives you your financial position at the age you expect to retire, and then at the age at which your life expectancy is due to finish. There's a little bit of guidance here in terms of the total cost of living in retirement. And this is based on the Association of Superannuation Funds of Australia Retirement Standard as at June 2019. So for single, a couple, and this will, based on single, it says I've got enough for comfortable. And if I change it to a couple, let's give it a minute to update, and it says, yes, I have sufficient for comfortable lifestyle in retirement as a couple. So that is the application. I just reiterate the terms of use. Please have a look at that. This doesn't provide financial advice. Tailored Accounts is not providing financial advice. I am not providing financial advice. This is purely for your purposes and your personal use.